So one of the first cards of the Paramount era is going to be UFC 325 taking place in Sydney, Australia, and I wanted to make this video talking about the card because it does typically seem like when UFC does do events in Australia, it seems like a lot of people aren't too keen on fighting there due to the high taxes, and in my opinion, this card looks pretty good. I have seen some discourse online talking about how a lot of people don't think that this is a strong card, but I think considering some of the really bad cards we have been getting in Australia from the UFC, this is actually a pretty good one. Now, there is only one title fight compared to the two title fights at UFC 324, but nonetheless, I do think that this is a pretty solid card and is deserving of that number on that card there, because of course we're not going to be getting numbered pay-per-views anymore. They're going to be just numbered events, and they're going to be included with the Paramount Plus subscription. Still not sure how it's going to work for me in New Zealand. I'm going to guess I'm just going to be able to watch every event on UFC Fight Pass, but it kind of seems like the value of Fight Pass might decrease, but there's probably a video for another thing, because it looks like a lot of promotions are leaving UFC Fight Pass or getting released anyways. The first fight that I want to talk about is the main event, and I'm struggling with this one, guys. I really am, because it's Volkanovski versus Lopes 2. We know what happened in the last fight. The last fight, it was a very tough kind of fight to make a good call on. I know a lot of people picked Lopes. I did pick Volkanovski to win that fight, but I think that there is a pretty good argument to actually have picked Lopes in that matchup 8 months ago, because Volkanovski was coming off 2 knockout losses to Topuria and to Makhachev back-to-back. He's also getting pretty old. He's still getting old. Guys, aging doesn't stop. He's 37, and I do think that he put on a really complete performance against Lopes. He ate some pretty big shots in that fight as well. I think there was some concerns about the chin, given the 2 knockout losses at the age of nearly 37 at the time, and he showed that he could still kind of hang, and now we're getting the rematch. I don't really know why Volkanovski's entire career is based on rematches. I do actually think that Volkanovski versus Evloev, or even Volkanovski versus Murphy, would be a little bit more intriguing, just sort of like rankings-wise, but I do think that the better fight is the Lopes fight, even if it does feel maybe a little bit undeserved with that win over Gene Silva, is all that Lopes did to get the opportunity again. I think my conspiracy theory, putting the tinfoil hat back on, I think the UFC really wants Diego Lopes to be a champion, because it would set up Lopes versus Evloev 2 very, very well. But it's so hard to kind of make a pick on this fight, because yes, I did pick Volkan the first time, and the thing is, we haven't seen him fight since, so we can kind of just assume that the same Volk would show up, and if anything, we really saw a good performance out of Volk. He did beat up Diego Lopes in a decision over 5 rounds, started to really take over towards the end, because Lopes is explosive, he's big, but he does cut a lot of weight, and the cardio over 5 rounds is of some concern, and also to talk about a very big size discrepancy between the two here. So I'm really struggling with this one. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a last minute call for me, making my prediction on it, but right now I'm still siding with Volk, but I really might flip to Lopes by the time I do make my prediction video on my main channel. The co-main event is going to be Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. You guys know that Dan Hooker is one of my, if not my favorite fighters of all time. I would actually credit Dan Hooker for being the fighter that kind of got me into watching the UFC. It was a guy from New Zealand that I could support, a guy from New Zealand that was working his way up into the rankings at the time, and a guy that has made it very, very far. Dan Hooker has been ranked, I believe, as high as number 4 in the world at one point, and you look at that record and he doesn't have a strong record, but it has just been because at any point he would fight anyone. He fought at heavyweight at one point on the regional scene. I know a lot of people like to kind of talk down on Dan Hooker for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just the people that expect everyone's record to be 20-0 or something like that. But Hooker's kind of gone, and he's kind of done it all. You know, he's had some highlights. Unfortunately, he has had a couple of lowlights as well. But through it all, man, he's been a very fun watch, if anything. And he really has kind of got some pretty solid victories on his resume. Including that really good fight against Paul Felder, which is a really, really good fight that happened in Auckland, actually. I didn't watch that fight. I actually did watch his fight, though, over Ross Pearson. That was kind of when I started to really, really get into the UFC in 2017, that sort of time period. I watched it live. That was Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis, of course. But I just don't know if he can beat Benoit, man. Like, here's the thing. If Dan Hooker never fought against Arman Tsarukyan and this was just going to be him coming off that 3-fight win streak, the win over Gamrot, straight into a fight against Benoit Saint-Denis, I actually do think that I would pick Dan Hooker, maybe, to win this fight. But he's coming off a TKO loss, a loss which he took a lot of damage in. And he didn't really show that elite sort of takedown defense that we have seen out of him, even as recent as the Mateusz Gamrot matchup, to be honest with you. And at the end of the day, this is a guy that has broken his arm like 3 times in the last couple of years. He's getting older. He's nearly 36 years old. He's been doing side quests. He's been doing his 50k scraps, which is pretty fun, I guess. But I don't know, man. I just worry about Dan Hooker, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, as much as I really like him, I don't know if Dan Hooker's time at the very top of the division is going to last for much longer. I could definitely see him beat Benoit, but just the fact that he's turned around so quickly, and I know that Dan Hooker loves to fight. This guy was made for fighting, but it just is a little bit of a worry. I think that Benoit on the feet, I actually do think Benoit on the feet leaves a little bit to be desired, despite his really good performances over people that like I consider to be really, really good strikers like Bonfim. I just don't know if I can see Benoit going out there and really outstriking Dan Hooker throughout an entire game plan. I think the way that Benoit is going to look to beat Hooker is mixing in the striking with the grappling. And I can tell you guys right now, I do think that's going to happen. Obviously, I'll look into the Tsarukyan fight again, see if I can kind of see some sort of a saving grace for Hooker to try and justify picking him. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Ruffy versus Fiziev is really interesting because it's going to be a strikers fight. Fiziev did try and mix in some wrestling. Where was it? I think it was actually in some of these losses and his win over Bahamondes. We've seen Fiziev be willing to wrestle recently, and I like that a lot when you do take on Ruffy, because Ruffy's wrestling and grappling was exposed by Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm not going to make a pick here and now, but I do think that I'm just going to say it. I think there is going to be a pretty big size difference between the two. Fiziev has been rumored to go down to 145 pounds. Now, the more I look at Fiziev, I don't think that he is a guy that would make 145 no problems. I know he looked a little bit smaller than Gaethje in the times that he fought him, but yeah, just I don't know. I kind of like the fact that Fiziev seems to be a guy that can mix in some grappling here. I don't even know what to think about this fight, Tuivasa versus Teixeira. It seems like the UFC really believes that Talison Teixeira can be a big sort of star for them. They did throw him in there with Derek Lewis. I think that I actually picked him to beat Derek Lewis as well in that matchup. In fact, I can only guarantee to you that I did. But I can't remember for sure. But yeah, Derek Lewis did knock him out in 35 seconds. Showed a little bit of a lack of experience, and they just kind of fallen for Derek Lewis's trap in that one there. But I don't know, man. Like, the thing is, at the end of the day, Tai Tuivasa, he did still fight for a title against Cyril Gane at one point. That is where he was at the top of his peak, and then since then he's just gone on a massive losing streak. And it has been sad to see. The thing about him is recently we've seen him look like he's maybe 300 pounds. Like, he does, I believe, own that Drink West or West Side Alcohol Beer Company or something like that. And does kind of seem like Tai Tuivasa's just been on that party lifestyle, man. I just don't know if I can trust Tai Tuivasa to be training seriously full-time anymore. And, yeah, I don't know about Teixeira. Teixeira's a tough one. He's a very much what do you even call it? Like a guy that we just don't even know. Like he's a mystery, I guess would be what you would say. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Tuivasa's going to get knocked out again. But Tuivasa's just, his performances have been so bad. Kroot versus Jacoby, it is what it is. Kroot's finally kind of getting back on a win streak, but his striking is so bad. It is the worst striking in the UFC. For out of all of the men anyway, he is the worst striker in the promotion. And I don't think it's close. I genuinely, I think that there are, I don't think there's anyone worse at striking than Kroot. I think it's that bad. And Jacoby's a striker. So that's an interesting matchup, which I'm going to have to look into a little bit more. Ralston versus Brundage is interesting. Ralston just absolutely smoked Petrosky, which is a really good win for him to have in his debut, because Petrosky had like a 5-2 UFC record or something like that when Ralston made his debut. And Ralston, you know, I like Ralston. I own Ralston merchandise. I wear his shirt all the time. I have like a Cam Ralston shirt and a Cam Ralston hoodie. But At the end of the day, like, the truth is he really had not fought anyone with like really good, strong experience aside from Malkoun in 2017. So that is just a massive win for Petroski. And honestly, Brundage and Petroski are pretty similar fighters. Now, the problem is, Brundage is still a good wrestler, so that takedown defense of Ralston is still going to get tested. So I'm very interested in this fight. Very, very interested to see how that fight's going to take place. And speaking of Jacob Malkoun, he takes on Torres Finney, and I could see Malkoun winning this fight, man. The thing about Malkoun is I've never really been super high on him, but a lot of people have had a lot of hype on Malkoun in the past. And Finney is another very interesting case because he's 5'8", but he's very big. He's very well built. He doesn't really have much good striking. In fact, speaking of striking, maybe Finney's striking's worse than Jimmy Cruz. That would be a fight for the ages, but Finney's striking's not good. It's just not. But the thing is, he's taking on another shorter guy. I feel like Malkoun's taller than 5'9", though. I'm intrigued by this one. I really am. I don't think that Finney's going to be undefeated for much longer, but Malkoun's like a pretty good matchup for him to maybe beat. I think Salkild is going to beat Rongju. Salkild's really good. He showed that against Haqparast. That was like his big sort of showcase performance before they did beat Jubilee. Anish Moose. Wow, he's actually been on a bit of a streak. But yeah, Rongju's good. I like Rongju a lot. He does actually train out of CKB, which is quite sick. But yeah, I think that Salkild's probably going to beat him. I think Salkild's boxing is elite, man. Mikulev versus Elliott. Very unsure about this one. This was actually booked. I think I was picking Mikulev when it was booked originally. I probably will still go that way. But that was one I wasn't confident on when it was booked originally. Offley versus Yija. I'm sorry, Khan Offley. I just don't believe in him. I actually think I picked Ramos to beat Offley, so that was a pretty good win for him to prove me wrong there. Yija, he did beat Weston Wilson, but it's Weston Wilson. Yeah, I think Yuja's probably going to win this one. Offley, like, yeah, he can wrestle and grapple quite well, but he just can't strike. Now, neither can Yuja, though, to be fair. Yuja's striking definitely leaves a lot to be desired as well. So I'm very interested in that. Junior Tafa versus Alakana is fun. Alakana can grapple. He doesn't really choose to, but he can do it. And the fact that he can do it is of great concern to me. And I love Junior Tafa, man. I've picked him so many times. Dolmar Pham versus Angkok Kim. This is the Road to UFC tournament, guys. This is fun to have on the Australian card. So far, I think Sebastian Cesale is going to run away with the tournament. I think Dolmar Pham's going to win the tournament. I don't think he's a very exciting fighter to watch, to be honest with you, but his wrestling and grappling is definitely too good for this one. This, banger, and banger. Oh my goodness, these are bangers. Win or lose, both guys should get signed to the UFC. Sulan Rangbo is like a super young striker. He's a sniper on the feet. He's looked so good so far. He beat Sim Kai Jong as well, which is a really good win against a good wrestler, like a really, really good wrestler. He's 20. I thought he was 23. Oh my goodness. And then he's fighting on against Lawrence Louis, another CKB guy. I believe also from Vietnam as well. I could be wrong about that. Let me double check that. He's from Hong Kong. I apologize. So Lawrence Louis from Hong Kong. From New Zealand. Also actually just graduated with a degree in engineering in New Zealand as well. Pretty sick. I think it was the University of Auckland he pulled it off at. So shout out to him for that. I picked him to beat Van Yem. I just don't know if I can see him beating Sulan Rangbo though. Like, this guy is 20 years old and he's really good at striking, man. It's a fun fight. And this is a banger too. Namsara Batbayar throws down, has some epic fights. Beating Agulali is massive. Agulali is a really, really talented fighter and he will be in the UFC one day. I've got no doubt about that in my mind at all. In fact, he's probably already like fought since because he just fights all the time. He's like 19 or something. He's 20 now. Yeah, I think Agulali is probably going to have a pretty big 2026. I think he's going to fight quite a bit. But Aaron Toe also can throw down and have some fun fights. I think Aaron Toe is going to win this fight. Aaron Toe was my pick to win the entire season. I'm going to back that up. He did beat Yin Shui in a very close decision. It was a banger. He beat Rio. This was a mismatch, though, to be fair. But I do think that we are going to see Aaron Toe go out there and beat Namsara Batbayar. But Batbayar's been on a good run recently, man. And like, Batbayar is a very aggressive fighter. And so is Toe. Like, Toe's not necessarily aggressive, but he will throw down. Like he kind of did on Contender Series against Smith. I think this is going to be a banger. I really, Really am looking forward to this fight. I mean, I am picking Toe. I think he might be the only underdog I'm picking on Road to UFC. I'm sorry, Lawrence Louis. I do think Suleiman Ringbo will probably be the favorite there. I think Cesar Lion Fan will also be the favorites as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't even know what these videos are. Like, are they prediction videos? Are they me just talking about the card? Am I just wasting time? I don't even know. Like, these are just videos I'm putting out. It's my second channel. I just kind of chuck everything on there. I kind of want to talk about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, but I don't even know if anyone cares about that, to be honest with you. I might still do a video on that tomorrow, though, because tomorrow's, what, Friday? Tomorrow's Thursday. Working night shift is ruined me. I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's Wednesday right now. Okay, I will talk about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua tomorrow. See you guys in the next one, I guess.